welcome to the Dancing into Brain Health podcast. I am your host, Magda Kaczmarska. Dementia does not affect all communities equally. African American adults are disproportionately affected by Alzheimer's disease and related dementia. And that reflects complex impact of cardiovascular health, structural inequities, socioeconomic factors, and genetics. And addressing these disparities requires much more than just medical advances. It calls for trusted community leadership, culturally relevant education, and powerful storytelling that can both reduce stigma and inspire action. And in today's episode, I am joined by an incredible individual who is transforming his own family's experience with dementia into a vibrant grassroots movement that raises awareness, reduces stigma, and creates more equitable pathways to brain health. Chuck Nathaniel Brown is an award-winning filmmaker, best-selling author, certified dementia practitioner, and the founder and executive director of Expose Dementia. Welcome, Chuck.
Thank you so much for having me.
Incredibly privileged to get a chance to speak with you. I know you're a busy man, so I thank you so much for taking the time to join me in conversation.
Of course. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else right now.
It's such a joy. It's funny because I feel like we met actually through another Brilliant Humans podcast, right?
Yes.
So many people may be aware of the Being Patient podcast. And I remember the host, Deborah, sharing about her mom.
Yes.
And that led to us connecting.
It did.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was the thing that changed my life towards you that day, that moment. It's amazing how something that you probably didn't think of as being that significant to other people because you were having an intimate conversation with her, but it touched me and changed my life.
Well, I think that was a connection about dance. And for me, that's a big passion. Deborah was sharing about how her mom, who has since passed away, but was living with a form of dementia, brain change, how her mom was finding dance as a way to bring joy and connection. And I said, I want to dance with your mom.
Yes.
Because, yeah, you're right. That is something that's natural to me. But I think when we met and I heard that was what resonated to you, just that moment of meeting you in that way. And especially with Deborah Kahn, she's such a brilliant person.
Yeah.
That was what stood out for you in that podcast. It says, I think, less about me and more about you, how amazing you are, and the lens that you bring into how you view the world, where you see value, and where you choose to shine light and energy and bring people together and grow movements. And I'm really excited because we get to talk about some of this incredible work that you've been building. And if anyone follows you on social media, like I do, they might be floored how you happen to jump from one place to another. You seem to be everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it.
Neither do I.
But you're a phenomenal advocate. You're a leading voice in dementia advocacy and really building awareness and resources for brain health. But it didn't start there. Your career before this chapter was you were already coming in with an extensive career as a filmmaker. And I'm curious, what inspired you, first of all, into film and visual storytelling? And then maybe we can talk a little bit about the journey that brought you into this work.
Sure, absolutely. I love talking about it. So I have a very colorful family. And when I was a kid, I would just watch them. And I would start taking notes on things and say, oh, one day I'm going to put this in a movie. Oh, this is going to be a story. And so that became something for me, as someone who watched a lot. I didn't talk a lot then. I was raised in a house full of women, so I didn't have many opportunities to talk. So I did a lot of writing. I used to watch my mother write. My mother is the greatest storyteller ever, even though she's not trying. And so I would watch her write poetry. I would watch her talk about things. And I always knew that I would be a writer. That was the first thing I told her I wanted to be. And so over the years, it was always, oh, I'm going to write this. Then it was poetry. Then it was short stories. Then it was, okay, let me find these pieces of paper and let me write this script. Let me learn how to write a script. And so it kind of evolved into that. So my journey, even getting to filmmaking, took a lot of turns. So I was a newspaper reporter for 20 plus years and then ended up transferring to photography full time. And then eventually I married the images and the pictures and started getting into the film side of things. And just being able to tell stories has always been a passion for me. And it was something that I wanted to make sure was meaningful. I always wanted to make sure I included those topics and issues that are important to me or people around me. Sometimes it might have involved breast cancer awareness or mental illness or bullying or whatever it was. I would try to incorporate that into the films that I was doing. So that's how all of it came about. But I write a little bit of everything. My favorite is romantic comedies, but I love drama.
Ooh,
I love
I want to
action.
see a romantic comedy from Nathaniel Brown. Oh, I want to see
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
I love rom-coms too.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That's my go-to.
I guess I misspoke because when I think of a filmmaker, I think of the visual medium, but I am realizing and listening to you that really the better title would be storyteller. You are a storyteller across different medium
Yes.
and genres.
I have to make that distinction a lot of times. I usually tell
Mm,
people I'm a writer first, but I'm a storyteller. I do that through pictures, artwork, film, TV, documentaries, songs, you name it, I tell stories. I actually
yeah.
just got finished writing a song today. That's me telling a story about a relationship. And the story is called Superman. It's about how this man wants to be a Superman for this woman that he loves. It's the way of telling a beautiful story. And this medium is through song this
Yeah.
time. Filming in the TV side of things have been what has encompassed the past 12 years or so, 15 years now.
Yeah. I'm also hearing you say that you have always gravitated towards the power of a story and to be a vehicle for bringing awareness to something that is important, but maybe not looked at. Some of the things that you've mentioned, breast cancer,
Right.
mental health, bullying, these are things that we know exist in our society, but maybe we don't talk about it. We don't know how to talk about it and address it.
Yes.
That takes a really special person to see something like that and say, I want to use this skill set to bring awareness to that. How did that arise for you, that desire to use your talents to build community and awareness?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, those women in my life really instilled some very beautiful values and
Mm,
morals for me. And so that was the foundation for it all. What my grandmother taught me, what my mother
mm,
taught me, what my aunts taught me, what my uncles taught me, even though often on the wrong side of what not to do. But I learned all of those things. And then I
mm,
think the thing that really drove it home for me is when I became a newspaper reporter and I was writing articles that were having impact. And I said, I want to do more of this, which
mm,
is why I also left that industry because they wanted to slant it or they wanted to do other things. And I said, no, I want to go into the community. I want to talk to the
mm,
people. I want to tell the good stories. I want to tell those things. And so I actually saw the impact that it was making. And I said, I want to do more of it. And if you won't let me do it, I'll do it on my own. And so that's
yeah.
kind of how I started doing that and said, you know what, whatever I do, I'm going to incorporate these things. I'm going to tell stories. I'm going to have a voice for the voiceless. I'm going to
Mm,
encourage other people to tell their stories and find ways to, once they get their voice, for them to tell their own stories, whether it's through books or their own documentaries or poetry anthologies, whatever that is. But it came from that. Real quickly, one of the articles I wrote was about an older gentleman in North Carolina where the town that he was living basically abandoned or kicked him out of his house to do something. He was living in a one-room shack. And they
wow.
promised to get him into his home. But he was living rats, snakes, everything was there. And when I found out about it, I started doing this series of articles. And this had been years since they had promised him, but he was left out there. And it became a big thing. It was in the New York Times, USA Today, all of these other articles and TV stations picked it up. And ultimately, the town that he was in was forced, pressured into getting this man out of this bad condition into a new home that they had promised him years before. And I said,
Yeah.
wow, the power of story. And so I tried to continue to do that every way that I can. And I think around that time is when I started using the word advocate and artivist. So it's like, how do we use art
Yeah.
as advocacy, as an activist in those subtle ways? So you don't always have to be on the front lines. You don't always have to do it the way other people do it. You can find your lane. And that's what I did through storytelling.
I resonate very strongly with that reciprocity and human connection. Obviously, this story was incredible about this gentleman and the fact that it was picked up and amplified in such a big way, in such a national way. But in a lot of communities, we think that if we want to make an issue important, we have to amplify it nationally. We forget that there have to be more personal, local, and one-to-one relationships that need to happen in order for that to not just be a big burst that gets a
Right.
lot of attention and then fizzles away. And so the fact that you have always from that early time in your career recognized that and then worked to address it is
Hmm.
really, I think, that relationship and grassroots and local building has the opportunity to have much bigger impact in the long run,
I
even
agree.
if it maybe doesn't seem as large, although what you're doing is definitely large. But you
Yes.
also said something really important, and that was it's not just you, it's not just me, but I'm wanting to help people find their own voice, tell their own stories,
Absolutely.
become writers, become storytellers. Tell me a little bit about that. How do you go about that, and why do you think that's so important?
One of the things that I learned early on is that when you learn something, you should teach it.
Hmm.
And so everything that I've learned, even the things that I was self-taught in, I said I have to teach somebody. I have to share this information. Whether that was creating a news paper of my own, a magazine, helping other people do theirs. I published my first book on my own in 1996. Since I did that process, I said, hey, I'm going to start teaching people how to publish their own books. Over the course of that time, I've helped thousands of people publish their books and tell their
Wow.
stories that way. Through
Wow.
filmmaking, I've introduced people to acting, which is storytelling. I gave them their first opportunities. I helped first time writers to turn their writings into movies. So, any way
Mm,
that I can help people to understand what their gifting is, or even to find out, because they might try it and be like, you know what, this isn't for me. But at least they know and they
yeah.
tried it, and I created that opportunity for them. And so, I always want more people to have their voice and tell their stories. But for those
Mm,
who can't or they don't want to, I also want to be able to find ways to still amplify their voice a different way. It's just important to me because, again, I didn't really have a voice except for when I wrote. And so
mm,
I understood the power of the pen. And
mm,
so when people are searching and they're trying to find, well, how can I have an impact? What is my voice and how do I
yeah.
find out my giftings and my purpose and talents? And then what do I do with it? And so in all of those
Mm,
areas that I've been in, I might not be the best, I might not be the greatest, I might not have all of the resources, but whatever it is that I can have and I can pass on, I try to do that.
mm,
Just because I know that somebody along the way is going to be able to make a difference that I can't. They'll be able to touch people that I will never be able to touch. They'll be able to share resources and information that I have no clue about. And so that's
uh,
why it's just always important for me. Number one, to have my own voice and to make sure I'm continuing to develop that voice and reach new audiences, but then also to help other people really express themselves as well.
I love that so much. So, what kind of brought us together was really centering a topic that carries a lot of stigma, but I think the word stigma to me doesn't really capture what it is. I think what you said earlier, mental health, bullying, breast cancer, all of us have in some way experienced or know somebody who's experienced it. It's in our
Right.
society. But when I think about stigma, I think there's a lack of language, there's a lack of understanding, there's a lack of community, there's fear that grows out of that, and that
Yes.
leads to isolation. So, dementia and brain health are something that has brought us together.
Yes.
And it's definitely a topic or an experience, rather, that falls under the umbrella of
Mhm.
misunderstood. And the narratives that we do have are kind of one sided, speaking more about the loss and the tragedy as opposed to the potential, and definitely are not representative of the wide range of experiences that we have in this country around the world. So
Mhm.
I'm curious, what inspired you to turn this skill set, this craft, and this passion of yours for storytelling and uplifting community to this topic of dementia and brain health?
Yeah, so dementia has hit my family hard, and over the years, no one talked about it. My grandmother,
Mm.
two of her sisters, my
Wow.
uncle, my aunt, one of my cousins. So it was everywhere, but nobody ever talked about it. It was,
Mm.
okay, don't worry about them. Just leave them in it, close the door. It was just a lot of that. I didn't pay much attention to it because initially I thought it was, okay, this is the older people, and maybe this is just what happens when they get old. Because
Mm.
again, we didn't talk about it. Nothing was identified. Nobody said it was this, that, or the other thing. And so recently, within the past 4 years or so, it became closer to me and more personal when my uncle and my aunt were going through it at the same time. Then I had another aunt who was beginning to exhibit symptoms. And so when my one aunt, who was my godmother, I saw her for the first time after she started experiencing it, it really affected me. And
Mm.
that was the thing that just punched me. And it was like, wow, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to identify it. And so I got back to Atlanta. She's in Baltimore. And when I got back to Atlanta, I deal with my emotions creatively. So I'll write a poem, a song, a film,
Mm.
something. So I decided to write a film called That's My Brother because
Mm.
my aunt was calling her daughter her sister. She didn't recognize her as her daughter. She didn't
Mm.
recognize me. She didn't recognize other people. And so I said, if I get back and if I tell this story, just a little piece of what they're experiencing, then maybe that'll help me deal with my emotions and then I can release
Mm.
it. I can go on to the next thing. I
Mm.
tried. I put the film out. It was just a 7-minute short film. And I said, I dedicate this to my aunt who's living with dementia. And then the first question I was asked is, what type of dementia? And I'm like, what do you mean? I said, dementia, dementia, dementia. And they was like, no, it's over 100 types of dementia. And I'm like, wait, what? Now, I think I'm a little bit smart. I'm a little bit. I'm
You're
not a
more than a
lot.
little bit
But
smart.
I'm a little bit, but I didn't know anything. And then
Wow.
people were asking me all of these questions and things like
Mm.
that. And I said, you know what? I hate feeling dumb. Like that's one thing that I really hate. So I said, let me jump in. Let me understand what these 100 types are. And then I'm starting to learn about risk factors and all these things. I'm like, I can't believe I didn't know anything. When I
Mm.
worked for the newspapers, I covered everything: health, education, the police beat, politics, community. So I know a little bit about a lot. I just don't know a
Yeah.
lot about nothing. I was blown away how I didn't know anything
Wow.
despite it being in my family.
Yeah.
All of these people that we never talked about. So nobody in any of those cases were identified from my knowledge of what they were experiencing. And
Mm.
so once I started researching this information, I said, I have to share this information. My
Yeah.
family needs to know it because at the time there were 3 people dealing with it. Then before long, it was 4 in that same time period. What do I do with it? I don't know. Okay, am I going to get on the internet and just start talking? Am I going to write a book? So I started putting this information together and I said, you know what? I'm going to start interviewing people. That
Mm.
way I can hear their stories and they can talk about their journey. I talked to my cousin. I talked to my mother. I was like, would you let me interview you guys? And that started the process for me to gather this information to be able to share with my family and then share with others. In that same line, I found out about the disparities that you mentioned in your introduction. And we're not talking about it and nobody knows. What are we doing here? And
Yeah.
so that's how the documentary Remember Me, Dementia and the African American came about, just from my willingness to take this information and say, I have to share it. I
Yeah.
decided to do the interviews, and the more people I talked to, the more information I got, and it was growing. I'm thinking I can do another 7-minute short film, put it out there. My family knows more, the community knows more, and then I'll go off again. But it kept changing because there was so much
Mm.
information. And then the more people I talked to, the more need that I saw. And I
Yeah.
said, okay, I have to do more. But that's how the whole thing came about, is because of my aunt. My aunt is the one who really sparked it in me because
Yeah.
she was the one that taught me so much growing up, and I was looking for the stories that we shared, and then those
Mm.
stories were gone. and she didn't know me. And so I was just broken, and I couldn't imagine what my cousin was going through and what my mother was going and everybody that was connected. And so that's when the stories became real. And then they
Mm.
became, okay, we have to share this. And then once I met all the other people, the doctors and the researchers and caregivers and other people living with dementia and understanding the different types of dementia, I was like, yes,
Mm.
there's work to be done here.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't know a lot of people who were actually in the space. So when I was discovering people, oh, here's a researcher doing this. This is amazing. Oh, here's a nurse that transitioned and is doing this. Oh, here's this woman that just wants to dance with people's mothers. I love this. This is amazing to me. And so that started that journey.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, every single time I speak with you, I become more and more in awe of you. And I want to just take a moment and acknowledge because I've seen Remember Me. I want to ask, is there a way that people can see Remember Me, or can they request a screening of Remember Me in their community?
Yes, they can reach out to me. So it's nowhere public right now. It's not on any site or YouTube or Amazon or anything like that. The version that we're showing is still a temporary version. The plan is to do a 5-part series. What we're showing now is kind of like part one. And so it's broken into different segments that will have a little bit more breadth. For example, in the current version, the caregiver section is maybe 20 minutes. It will have its own hour. We'll be able to do more with the history of mistrust by the Black community with the government and the medical
Mm-hmm.
community, things like that. We'll be able to develop it a little more. And so right now we're still taking it around the country, but people can reach out to us and say, hey, we heard about it. We want you to come to Nashville. We want you to come to San Antonio, wherever.
Yeah.
We've been all over the place, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad people are receptive and really passing the information along too.
Well, I hope that people who are listening will is the best way to reach you to go through your organization's website, or should we
Yes.
put okay, great. And I also
Yeah.
hope that people who are listening who have the means will reach out and think of sponsoring the
Yes, please.
making of this film. Just sending it out there.
Yeah.
I've already seen this combined version that is
Hmm.
looking at all of these sections in shorter frame. And I think it's remarkable because it already, in my idea of a relatively comprehensive way, I mean, for something as short as covering a very huge topic, it does so in an incredible way. And it brings a public eye not only to the challenge, right, to the disparities. You mentioned very valid reason for distrust and injustice that
Right.
has been committed, I would say atrocity
Yes.
that contributes to some of the reason why there is a lack of a bridge, and individuals like yourself are building those bridges, but that there's also a need for more of those resources to help acknowledge first the harm and then to help do reparations to build it. But
Yes.
also what I really love about the film is how much hope there is even
Hmm.
in light of all of this. So not shying away from the challenge, but also recognizing the spirit and the passion and the hope and the love and
Right.
celebrating the people who have just like yourself out of willpower and sheer determination have built incredible communities already and are making already a massive impact. And
Absolutely.
I've had the privilege of witnessing firsthand other collective grassroots movements that you are bringing together. And it's just magnifying. It's truly a phenomenal film.
Yeah,
And I
thank you.
feel, thank you. I also feel like there's somebody else that I'd like for us to thank and honor, and that is your aunt. And
Yes.
I wonder if you allow us the privilege of acknowledging your aunt. Would you do the honors of sharing her name for us so we can
Sure.
honor her?
Yes, her name is Sheila Louise Brown. She is an amazing woman because she still lives through me.
Mm.
But she transitioned in June. She was my godmother in addition
Oh,
to being my aunt. So she promised to raise me if anything ever happened to my mother, but she
oh,
didn't wait for that. She taught me a lot. She was a teacher. Early childhood was her specialty, but she would get the kids in the neighborhood together and set us on the steps and make us do math problems and read. And they were telling the stories about how she had the kids picketing the store because they wouldn't sell certain things to kid. She was just that type of a person. And so she instilled a lot of what I am now from the time I was a kid. Service in the community, respect for people, collaboration, all of those things. And so even though it's very emotional that she's no longer here in the physical, she made sure that she did things to build me up as a man. And I said, even at her memorial service, that I'm still becoming the man that she wanted me to be. I often joked as well,
It's
though,
beautiful.
that she used to always say, "Oh, you're going to be famous. You're going to be famous." And I said, "Look at this. And I'm here
She
making
knew.
her famous. I'm making her famous." So through her journey with dementia, she had Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, which I hadn't heard of again until then. But I'm sharing a piece of her story. She's been in newspapers and on TV and in the documentary and traveling around the country. I'm just so honored that I can still be her voice. She's an amazing woman, and she's reached so many people over the course of her life, her 77 years, and I'm going to continue to do what I can. She helped birth this new purpose in my life, and I'll make sure I continue to honor her.
That's beautiful. I'm incredibly privileged and honored and grateful to understand her. I feel like I get a chance to meet her through you, and I resonate very deeply with that. I was raised by my grandmother, so when I listen to
Mhm.
you speaking about how you feel about the type of woman that Miss Sheila was in your community, that your aunt was, that's how
Yeah,
I feel about my grandmother, like a queen, a type of person that walks the walk, shows all of us, those of us who are willing to see how to show up
yeah,
for one another. We are together, and the
right.
way that we have that was by showing up for one another. And
I
it's
agree.
very clear that you are walking the path that she first presented to you. I am grateful that we have a moment. I feel that she's here with us.
Yeah, I
Now,
do too.
you shared that you wrote a song for Miss Sheila for her memorial.
Yes,
And I was wondering if we could share a little bit of the song.
please do.
As I
I would be
was
honored.
reading the lyrics, I was so moved. So let's take a moment. Can you tell us what the name of the song is?
Yeah, it's called Our Aunt, Our Shiro. And I wrote this on behalf of the nieces and nephews.
Hmm.
And the poem version of it is actually in the program for her memorial. And I decided to convert it to a song as well.
Hmm. Well, let's listen.
Downtown Sheila Brown, that's what they say. A woman of strength who showed us the way with the wisdom and love and all that you do. You help shape our lives and carry us through. You taught us to fight, not with anger or pride, but with courage and faith, standing by our side to face every challenge and never back down. That strength is your gift. Pass the lovingly down. Forever love. Forever remembered. Forever on. Forever our hero. Forever. Forever in our
Thank you for sharing that.
Oh my gosh, thank you for writing it and for letting us join in that.
Yeah.
I'm deeply moved, but also I feel joy.
Yes.
And I think that's so important, right?
Yes.
She's totally here.
She will continue to be. And when we ultimately build our campus, the library is going to be named after her. Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Sheila Brown, for everything that you've done, the strength and the knowledge. I was thinking, like, this needs to be a dance.
Bring it. Let's do it.
We need to figure out a way, but yeah, maybe at the next conference or something.
All right, all right.
I'll be behind the scenes, but yeah. Thank you. So I know we've shared a lot already about Remember Me and how Miss Sheila paved the road for you into this topic. And you already had a voice, but helped channel your really powerful voice into a space that really needed light. You've filled that path with light already, and it just keeps on shining. I wonder, before we move into some of the other work that has grown out of this incredible film, if you could reflect on what creating this film taught you about dementia and about storytelling and advocacy and community.
I'm a lifelong learner, so I'm always going to be learning something. I think the biggest thing it taught me about storytelling in general is that even within the story that you create, there are multiple stories inside. And so all of those stories can have their own life and be appreciated. A couple of the people that were featured in there document their own documentaries on their journeys as well. So that was the biggest thing about the storytelling. But as far as the information, understanding what dementia was, what it was not, all of the types and the risk factors and what we can do to help our brains, things that we kind of take for granted until we're in that situation. So it really taught me a lot about what I need to do for myself, because I'm always a first partaker in anything that I'm teaching. I'm working on my sleep. I'm working on my diet. I'm working on exercise. So I'm constantly incorporating these things for myself first.
Yeah.
And then when I have those conversations and I tell people, here are some things that you can do to reduce your risk, I can tell them I'm trying to reduce my risk as well. I'm trying to improve this. I'm trying to work on my memory. At some that I knew, some that I was just going to fight because certain food I'm just not going to eat. You can tell me how good this is for my brain, my heart, my stomach. It's just not happening. So I got to figure out some other things to do. But I like to have those honest conversations because it's not always an easy journey, but when you know, at least you can address it based off of your knowledge, not your ignorance. You're just walking around not knowing. And like I said earlier, I don't like feeling dumb. I don't like feeling like, how come I don't know this? This is a thing? Nobody told me? So I'll at least try to find out that information for myself. And then once I do that, now I can understand a little bit better. I could be a little more sympathetic and empathetic to people who are in those situations. And now I can figure out how to help if I can, or amplify those voices again so somebody else can help. And so all of those little details that people take for granted, or if they know, sometimes they talk over people's heads. I like to keep things right at eye level. Like, this is where we are. Let's talk about it right here. And since I did the documentary and completed it, I've learned so much more that I said, oh, I got to go back and I got to add this and I got to include this and the new research that's coming and the new medications and all of those things. But I would say probably the biggest thing is understanding that I can contribute to making change. You know, initially it was, okay, get this information from my family, but then it's like, okay, I can do more. I can reach more people. I can help other people reach more people. I can do so much more. And just sharing the documentary in different locations, different cities, things like that, even internationally, I'm understanding now that the needs are so great. And it's like, oh, wow, okay, we're learning this stuff. Now, how do I get it to people who don't understand it, present it this way? Which is why after I started the documentary, I said, you know what? Some people are just never going to watch a documentary about dementia, but they might pick up this book. So let me write this book, take a lot of the same information from the documentary, and that's what I put into Exposing Dementia, 8 Critical Takeaways for African Americans. And maybe that's another way that they'll get it. And from there, it's like, what else can we do? Do we do a dance now? Do we do a play now? What do we do? So trying to create as many opportunities for people to get the information.
Yeah. I think the two biggest things that jumped out for me is that there is a lot of information and the information doesn't end. I think this is human nature, especially with things that maybe we don't have the language, or it feels like medical things and health things are
Right.
tough, right? Our bodies in and of themselves are complex systems. And then there's so many other things that are outside of our control that contribute to that. Not only is this topic difficult in a singular way, but then it's constantly changing.
Yeah.
Information's constantly changing, and there's multiple factors, as you mentioned. I think part of the reason why people withdraw is not only do I not have the language, but This is overwhelming. Where do I even start?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of clinicians and researchers, and they're brilliant. And some of the folks that we've had on this podcast, I think, are really excellent storytellers. Hillary, who's our editor, is not a researcher. She's a dancer and producer and creator in
Right.
many ways. As she's listening, she will say, oh, one thing that really stands out from these researchers is that they have thought about the storytelling component. A lot of clinicians and researchers are brilliant, but finding that way to tell that story that's going to really register is
Yes.
challenging. And I love that you're like, yes, we're going to look eye to eye. I also think that something that you do, which is so vital, is to say, but I'm walking it too. It's not just these are the things that we all know we need to do, but I'm a perfect example. I'm telling everybody to dance. I have to work with myself to make time and space to do physical exercise for me.
Right.
And I'm a person who's pushing it.
Yeah.
We all struggle with this stuff, but it helps to know that you're not alone. And when somebody is honest and says, hey, I'm working on this too, I am going to keep on working on it because I know how big of an impact it can make.
Yeah. I want to make vulnerability sexy. I
Oh,
want people to know
yeah.
that it's okay to be vulnerable. My wife tells me I tell too much. She's like, why do you have to tell that part of the story? Especially when it deals with our marriage and relationship and things like that. I'm like, no, this is going to help somebody. We can tell them, yes, we've been through these things, but here we are about to celebrate our 31st wedding anniversary. They need to know that they'll be able to get through something. She's like, yeah, but you don't have to say that much. You don't have to tell that part of it. I'm like, sometimes you do. And so I want people to understand that vulnerability is okay. So I'll tell them how emotional I am when my family is going through something, or how I cried through things and I have to write about it to be able to deal with my emotions. So whatever we have to do to be able to get to that point. And for me, if it makes me look a little bad for you to get up and start dancing more, then by all means, let's do what we got to do, because we need to keep growing. I like to say sometimes when you stop growing, you start dying. So let's keep growing. Whatever
keep
that
growing.
takes. And so for me, it's about being vulnerable, because I know I've had experiences that will help people, because I've overcome some things. I'm still overcoming. So I can't really tell you I've overcome these things yet, but the things that I've gone through and say, wow, I didn't know I was going to make it through this.
Yeah.
Or I didn't know once we got into this situation with dementia and things like that, because we had no information, we didn't know how we were going to survive or how we were going to deal with my aunt being put into a facility. And then at one point she was in a facility with her brother and they didn't know each other. How do we deal with those things? But if we talk about it and we tell people, hey, it's okay. Your story might be different. You might have different circumstances. But even when you talk it through, it helps. And if you share your story, you'll realize you're not alone.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned earlier, it's all about building hope. And there is hope. No matter where you are in your situation or what you're going through, there is hope, because there are people who care and who are there with you through the journey.
Yeah, that building hope, that's exactly what Expose Dementia is doing. So tell us a little bit about Expose Dementia.
Yeah, so once we started taking Remember Me out on the road, we were finding all of these pockets of communities who had no idea about dementia, or they had no idea about respite programs, or they had no idea about the resources that were right in the community. And several of the people from the documentary that I interviewed, we just got together and we said, we got to do something else. Some of them have their own movements and organizations. And I said, I'm going to support that as well, but let's come together and do something here.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want to go back to school and become a neurosurgeon or, anything like that. That was out of the question. So I said, how can I use what I already do? And that's storytelling, that's the arts, that's media. So we decided to create this nonprofit organization that utilizes the arts and media to educate, to advocate, to reduce stigma, to create programming, to provide that hope that people need. And we called it Expose Dementia because it's still a hidden secret in a lot of communities. It's still taboo. So we said, no, we're going to expose it. Like you're going to hear about it, whether you're watching TV, whether you're in the bookstore, whether you're listening to music, because now I have a couple of songs that deal with it as well. You're going to find out about this somewhere. And then once you understand the limited information that I know about it, then you might want to go and start reading some more, finding out more information, but we're exposing dementia.
Yeah.
And then from there, let's address these issues. Let's build programs. Let's find out how to make the connection with the people who have the resources to the people who want the resources and need the resources. And
Yeah.
so all of those things came about from having conversations and realizing that there was a major need.
Yeah. I mentioned I follow you on social media. I'm your friend, but also your groupie. And so I see you and the Expose Dementia team. You're involved in a lot of different phenomenal things. But one of the things that you do, I think, is brilliant, and that's the Expose Dementia Conference. And
Yeah,
I just wanted to say for myself, as somebody who's had a career that spans both the arts and the sciences and education, I still do go to conferences across the board,
right.
national, regional, international. And I have to say that the Exposed Dementia Conference is one of the most unique conference I've ever been to. What I think
Thank
is
you.
so fascinating about it is that dementia and the whole spectrum of topics that you have the access to is huge. And the fact that you managed to somehow find a way to make all of them accessible, to find space for all of them. But what's most important is that by the end of the conference, everybody feels like they are friends with everybody
Yes.
else. Somehow, by the end of that, everybody feels like they've been through a healing session and everybody feels uplifted. And I don't know, like you've been blowing oxygen and we're all in euphoric state.
Yes.
It's phenomenal.
Thank you.
What inspired you to design the conference in this way?
I say everything we lead with love. So
Mm,
I wanted to make sure that was the foundation that no matter who came in, whether they were presenting, whether they were a student, whether it was someone living with dementia, whether it was a care partner, a sponsor, we want everybody to feel love. And so we said,
mm,
that's how we're going to build it. But we also wanted to really highlight the arts in media. So that's why we had the comedy show, art exhibit, film festival, all the presentations from the fantastic specialists. We wanted to bring all of those things together
mm,
to make it a lighter mood, but you still get the quality conversations, you get the connection that we all need, you get the information, and then you feel that love, and then you take it and you do what you need with it. And so when I first had the idea, the team didn't grasp it. They couldn't really see it until
mm,
we actually were there. So they was like, oh, this is cute. This is nice. You know, all that is great. Like, I'm glad we're doing this. Oh, I didn't even know there were other films about it. But once
mm.
we got there and people started feeling the love, they felt the energy. They saw the film. They saw the different books. They were being connected to different organizations and people. And I kind of sat back, although I was running, I kind of sat back in the spirit and I was watching and I was like, this is
Mm,
exactly what I envision.
mm.
It's a great community coming together,
Yeah.
sharing information, sharing love, supporting one another, having that hope, and then leaving inspired and motivated. Because ultimately, that's my complete life's purpose is to inspire people, motivate people, transform people, and empower people. And so if I could pull all of that together into this conference with the topics, with the experts, with the research, and it not feel so overwhelming because it is a lot
Yeah,
of
it's a lot of
information.
stuff. Yeah.
And if we can do that, we can pull that off. I think we have something special here.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we were able to do it. And I'm very thankful for everyone who's been a part and involved, from volunteers to sponsors and to the SPAC. All of the pieces came together so beautifully that it was like,
Mm,
oh, wow. I wish we would have known this information and shared it 20 years ago. But now
mm.
that we're here, we're helping to continue it. And so the conference set a great foundation for us to really be able to develop more things like it.
Yeah. I mean, a conference is a very difficult thing to put together,
Yeah.
but truly is remarkable. And then this last year was the second conference and
Yes.
it blew the first one out of the water. Are you planning another conference again this year?
We are. We're planning for 2027. We don't have details yet because we were initially trying to do it in Charlotte. So we were going to
Mm,
move for the first time, and then that didn't work out. So now we're revisiting whether we're going to do Baltimore or maybe even Atlanta.
awesome.
So details to come soon. Stay connected to the website. Get on
Yeah.
the subscription list.
Well, it just happened. It was March, right?
Yeah, it was in March.
We're
Yeah,
talking when we're recording this, it's July. So
right.
there's still some time.
There's some time.
It really is a remarkable testament, I think, to what Exposed Dementia is and that love that you share and that
Yeah.
inspiration and hope that it goes through and the sense of community. I really do feel like people connect
Hmm.
and they are connecting across different professional experiences, different regional experiences, different lived experiences. And that's gold right there.
Yeah. I
That
love it.
amount of micro bridging that's happening, it's such a beautiful experience. I hope folks check it out, find a way to get involved.
Yes, please
So
do.
that's one of the things that's coming up next, but
Yes.
I personally happen to know that there are even more wonderful things, but
Yes.
if someone's listening today and they want to get involved and be part of this movement, whether they have a professional connection to dementia or a personal connection, where would you encourage them to begin?
Please visit our website, exposedementia.org. You'll see a lot of the things that are going on. We are a little slow in getting some more things that are coming onto the site, but you can also subscribe to the email list. So we'll be updating everybody on the new developments. You can volunteer with us. You can make donations. You can come into the conference or some of the other events that we're doing. We just love to be connected to great people to help and share the information. And if you are someone who need resources, if we
Mm.
don't have the resources, we can help connect you to people who will have the information.
That I think is so important because, as you mentioned, and I discovered this too as I started being more involved in the community, is how much actually already is out there,
Yes.
but we don't know about it. And
Hmm.
even through our work, when we meet people, we're like, oh, by the way, did you know that I heard that you like painting? There's a phenomenal group called Arts and Minds in New York that does this incredible
Right.
work. Why don't you go? They have free programs, right? Like being able to use your platform to uplift other works, but more importantly, serve the people that you said that you're
Yes.
serving. That is something I really respect. And I love that you're modeling that you're standing through that authenticity and saying, you know what? No, our mission is to help people. We're going to do everything we can to help.
Yes.
I love that.
We know we can't do it all, so we can just do our little part. That's all we're trying to
Yeah,
do.
exactly. We're
Uh,
all part of a wider community that's really
yes.
making a difference.
And I love my community.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fabulous. So, what are some of the exciting things that are on the horizon? We talked about the conference. What else can people get involved with that's coming up or it's happening right now?
Yeah, we're super excited about our first survey study. Myself, Exposed Dementia, and Natalie Douglas of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, we're putting together this study that looks at the experiences of people living with dementia and people diagnosed with some form of dementia, what those experiences around the time of diagnosis were. Were they
Mm,
good, bad, what information that you got, all of those types of things so we can begin to craft programs, materials to help address those areas. Some we know already just from
mm,
talking to people, but we want to see what the broader community is saying about those experiences, whether they were racial incidents, whether you felt like you were being talked down to, whether they weren't culturally relevant, whatever your
mm,
experience is, we want to hear about it. So you can also find information about that on the website. It's a 10, 15-minute survey, completely anonymous, so you don't need to put your name or you might need to put where you're from. I don't remember, but you don't have to identify your name to participate. And that'll help us to get this data and this information so we can craft some other programs to help people. And then
yeah.
to address some of the wrongs that we know have taken place within the system. So we're very excited about that. This is my first research project. So
Yes.
I didn't have to, become a neurosurgeon after all to make a difference.
Yes. I'm really honored to have met and had the opportunity to collaborate with some researchers and clinicians who are those bridgers as well, right?
Yes.
Every one of us plays a part, and a clinician and a researcher has so much value and expertise to bring. But somebody who is embedded in community and is a grassroots activist and advocate
Right.
can really do so much more. And if we work together, my gosh, the things
Yes.
that can happen. When I first started doing research, I was working in preclinical research. So it was like molecules and
Hmm.
tissue samples and pipettes. Like little
Right.
microscope things. But going through the Global Brain Health Institute, I met people who are working on research studies and social research studies. And I learned that this is so important because this is what helps us write policies or tell professionals, here's the research, here's what people are saying, this is why we need to change the way that we do this work. And
Hmm.
so there's kind of two parts, right? There's the social knowledge, which is what you're doing. We're having conversations, we're building community. But one way of advocacy is actually to participate in a survey like this and say, this is what my experience was. And then that your experience helps shape the path that other
Yes.
people will take when they're entering into this journey.
Absolutely. And I think a big part also is educating on what research is and what it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, of that mistrust and distrust, a lot of people in the African American community don't want anything to do with any type of research because of things that have happened, like the Tuskegee experiment or what happened to Henrietta Lacks and her cells and things like that. So we want to be able to let people know that there are different types of studies that they can get involved in and have the conversation at least once we get started. So even for myself, participating in a couple of studies so that I can say, yes, I'm doing studies too. This is what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And now we can have the conversations and not say, oh, well, we're not doing that because I don't want them stealing my cells. But you can answer some questions. That's helpful. And so we can kind of ease people back into the system because we're needed in research overall as well.
Yeah. There's no better way to say it. You said it, my friend. I love this. And I love for you that you're doing a survey. I think is going to be so transformative and so important. What are some other things? I know that you mentioned something about a respite program. Can you share a
Yes,
bit more
we're
about
super
that?
excited. Yeah, we have Care Corner Respite Program. It's going to be in partnership with Respite for All Foundation, Word of Faith
Nice.
Family Cathedral Church in Mapleton, Georgia, and the Riverside Epicenter, which is a community center there. We're going to start off 1 day a week for 4 hours. People living with dementia will be dropped off by their caregivers, and we'll have activities, art-based activities, to give their caregivers an opportunity to run errands, get some rest, do whatever they need to do, because we know that a lot of people don't know about respite and many don't take advantage of it because of finances or time or stigma or any of those things. We're going to create this program, and the care is basically compassion, arts, respite, and empathy. We're going
Nice.
to book in the arts and the rest with that compassion and empathy. We're going to let people know that, hey, we are here for you. And we're going to be doing other programs during the Saturdays and some in the evenings where, again, respite is needed. This is another example of bringing the community together to do it. So you have Expose Dementia, you have Respite for All, you have Word of Faith, which is the church, and then you have the community center, which is the Riverside Epicenter. So
Yeah.
we're all partnering to be able to bring this service to the community. I mean, we're starting
Beautiful.
in January of 2027. So we're
Nice.
about to start recruiting volunteers and signing up families as well. It's going to be an amazing experience.
Oh, that's so exciting. For the survey, we have a QR code, and there's also going to be a link in the show notes. And
Awesome.
then I'll make sure that we also, any information about how people can get involved, either to volunteer or to sign up or to learn some more information about the Care Corner Respite Program, we'll be sure to include that as well.
Awesome. Thank you. I
It's so
appreciate that.
exciting. I love that you're doing
Yes.
that. Why reinvent the wheel, right? Know that there are other people who've already been cultivating and building community and
Yes.
have the infrastructure to support something. Let's put it together. And that's when gold happens. But it takes a certain level of humility and willingness to work. Working with
Right.
people can be challenging, but can also be incredibly rewarding and can happen a lot faster than trying to build something from scratch. Yeah.
Yeah, we're very thankful for the partners we have in it. And of course, we're going to build because it's going to take a lot more than just those 4 groups.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to just grow and expand because we found already that it's needed.
Yeah.
Especially in the county that we're in, Cobb County, there's not many things in particular for the African American community or the Latino community. And so we want to create those culturally relevant programs for them as well, where they feel comfortable and safe. Some of the events that we're going to be doing, like traveling around the metro area, where we're doing individual events on the second Saturday of the month. we're going to do them in different communities to be able to customize those experiences. Some, it's going to be everybody come and we just play something that everybody knows. We might do a disco bingo game or something. I don't know. But we'll make it fun. But then in those communities, like the Hispanic community, we'll have things specifically tailored to them with the music, with the food, different things like that. We just want to make sure that we're reaching as many communities as possible so everybody can feel the hope that we do.
I love it. I love that you're building and expanding. Knowing you, I know that this is going to just grow.
Thank you.
I just
Thank
hope
you.
that you find that time for that sleep and rest, my friend.
I'm working on it. I am working on it.
We'll need to keep each other accountable. I'm working on it too.
Yeah.
And now I heard that there's one more exciting thing on the horizon. And I know that it's still really early, so I'm not sure how much we can share. Can you share about this one other exciting new thing that's happening?
Yes, I'm super excited. I've been invited to attend the Creative Scholars Program, which is a program that's based out of the University of California, San Francisco, and the Global Brain Health Institute. So I'll get an opportunity to share some of my creative works that we're doing, and then also collaborating, as you mentioned, with the researchers and the clinicians and being able to experience the work that they're doing on the ground every day. And then seeing how we can marry those when I come back to Atlanta to be able to put some more things in place to help the community. So it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Dr. Bruce Miller and his team have been so fantastic in welcoming me to the program because they understand the work that we're trying to do and they're willing to help out as well. So again, just growing that community and partnering in many places as possible. It's going to be fantastic. Can't wait to tell you all about it once I get there.
We'll have to have you come back, or maybe we can even invite you and somebody from UCSF, the Global Brain Health Institute, and have a conversation together. This makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Dr. Bruce Miller is a dear mentor, a powerful, beautiful human being, and has been on the podcast earlier this season. And I'm thrilled that you get a chance to collaborate in some way and that you've had a chance to connect.
And thank you for your push to connect as well with them.
A little pushy, I'm sorry.
No, it's appreciated.
You all need to have something. And I'm glad it worked out. It sounds from what you're sharing that this is going to be really transformative. I hope for both communities, because I think what you're doing is just remarkable and a testament to you and the community that has helped build your path, but also that you have helped build as well. I just have 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
The first one is more of a personal one. We're called the Dancing into Brain Health podcast. As you know, what brought us together is the dancing. But I love to ask every one of our guests to take a moment and reflect on their experience and the role of creativity in their life. And specifically, to think about whether there's an experience either through dance or music or film or visual art, some other creative practice that either you experienced or that you witnessed that has helped you feel the power and the magic of the arts to support health and healing in the human community.
There are so many.
I know. I'm sorry. That's a tough one.
No, but it's okay. So I go back to the first time I held my first book in my hand back in 1996. And then the first time I saw one of my movies on the big screen in a movie theater. And then I think about the first time I heard a song that I wrote. So all of these things connect to that creativity, and all of them gave me a feeling. But then I've also heard what people receive from those things as well. And so I can't pinpoint it to one in particular, but I can say this. I love people. I lead with love, and the things that I see from people gives me more hope. I feel like I'm a light anyway, and I'm going to bring that energy and I'm going to share love and those experiences. But when I hear someone say they want to dance with someone's mother, and then I ask them, would you come and dance with my mother, even if it's for a second? I wanted that experience. So that gives me the love, the energy, the hope that is everything to me. And so it's more about people than it is about specific events or incidents, because I can give you a million different things in particular with my life and how people have received certain things. But I will say this too, though. When I showed my mother, my cousin, my Aunt Sheila's daughter, and my other cousin who had multiple strokes and is exhibiting symptoms, I showed the 3 of them the documentary first. My mother is the black sheep of the family, has gone through a lot in her life, and is very prideful. She was vulnerable and crying during the documentary. My cousin Darlene is a police officer at Morgan State University, so she's tough. She has this tough exterior and all of that. My other cousin is secretive and she doesn't like people knowing her business or information. And all three of them are sitting there crying while they're watching it. And I said, they're not going to let me show this to anybody because they're vulnerable and I don't think they want people to know it. After we got done, all three of them said, everybody needs to see this. And I was like, wow, we have something.
Yeah.
And so it's moments like that for me, and there have been quite a few, but for them to, in that moment, they learned a lot about dementia that they hadn't learned. And even though they were shown vulnerable, they were moved because they knew other people needed to get the information that they just got. And so for me, that's the power of storytelling. And if I can reach my family, like the hardest nut to crack, I know I can do anything.
Yeah. I was so moved by that validation from your family, but also that's such a testament to your storytelling. For somebody to see their story highlighted in a way that is opening a path for somebody else. I think that is one of the things that I think all of us need in order to live, is to know that we have in some way made a difference in somebody else's life, that we have a purpose, that we have a reason for existing, and to know especially that some of the most difficult experiences of your life are now in a platform, have been transmuted in a way through your storytelling and through this community to help somebody else find a path. That I think also is healing. You're helping somebody maybe make sense of the why behind the challenge and the difficulty. Now we're finding connection. And you said that too. I love people. The arts are a vehicle for connection, for findings, like getting into the heart, getting into the mind, getting into the soul, the spirit, and saying, hey, I'm not alone. I'm here with you. I'm going to walk this next to you. That's beautiful.
And sometimes it's not even direct. It's indirect. If something you see or something you hear, I could see a post. Somebody posts something about an experience that they had, or sharing their music or dancing or their artwork, or even I have a small community of songwriters who are sharing their information, and I can hear something from somebody else, or I'll share something that I did and it's like, wow, okay, cool. So you have those moments, whether it's directly like this, if we're talking, you can say something and then immediately I'm like, I need to write this down. And then other times it could be watching you doing an interview and it changed the dynamic of this woman I had never met to now being such a close friend. That's why I love to inspire and motivate people, because you just never know the impact that you're going to have by just being you, by just doing what you know to do, what you're good at, what you love to do, and then seeing what happens after that. I do know, and somebody told me this after maybe like my second book, they said you will probably never know how most of the work that you do impact people, because it's going to be far, far away from you, passed down person to person or viewed. Whatever it is, you will never really know your impact in totality. You just have to know that what you're doing is that purpose, that you have that passion behind it, and believe that you are making a difference. And that's what I believe.
Well, you are most certainly making a difference. You're changing hearts, you're building paths, you're strengthening brains, and most importantly, you are doing it with love, as you said.
Yes.
I'm privileged and honored to meet you, my friend, and thank you so much for building this movement and being a light. And I'm really excited for people to hear. And I'm looking forward. I hope people comment and find more ways to connect with the wonderful work you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Any last thoughts you want to share before we close for today?
Just thank you for inviting me, having me on to have this conversation. I appreciate you for all that you do, but I appreciate you for who you are more than anything. And those are the types of relationships and people that I love being around, that I love growing with. And so I know we have a lot more to do together. We're just getting started.
Thank you, my friend. And on to the next thing. Next time we'll check in. We'll see what's next.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Thank you for listening to the Dancing into Brain Health podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to follow us, comment, and share. We look forward to growing in community with you. This episode of the Dancing into Brain Health podcast was edited and produced by me, Magda Kaczmarska, and Hillary Brown-Estrefi. The music for this show is the title cut from the album Critical Path by Joe Venegoni and Carl Weingarten. Be sure to check out show notes, links, and resources from today's episode on the Dancing into Brain Health page on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube.